Well, welcome everyone to our Wednesday 101 webinar. I'm Leslie Scott. I'm with Reuseful, and we are excited to have you here today, as well as have Chris Williams here to impart all of her, I think we could call it homesteading knowledge. Um, and just to give you a brief overview for those of you who are new to our organization, we are in the Kansas City metropolitan area. We have a lot of different kinds of programs we do. We have a donation matching platform where you can find a place for your Still Good items if you're looking to rehome them. And that's for the Kansas City area. So those organizations are located here. So for those of you outside of our region, that's not overly helpful. But if you are just joining us and want to drop in the chat where you're coming from and why you decided to attend today, that would be awesome. I think that would help Chris a little bit too, as she talks about the fall vegetables that you can plant. So we have these webinars. We've done anything from starting your sustainability journey to green burial, native gardens. Chris has been here a couple of times, maybe 4 times now, presenting, and all kinds of different topics. So we welcome you to check that out. That's on our website, reuseful.org, and I will drop that in the chat. Richmond, Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania. We've got folks from Kansas City area too, I see. And we do undumpster days, so you can load up your items and bring them to one of our undumpster day events to donate. We also do electronics and tire recycling, as well as paper shredding at those. And we also have repair cafes, so we welcome people to bring their broken items to those. So all these happen in Kansas City, but we welcome everyone from all over the country who's here today to learn from Chris. And Chris, you'll have to unmute again. And I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay. Everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. Okay, good. All right. Thank you guys for coming today. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about me, and then we are going to start learning a lot of different things. So I have been gardening for about 38 years now, and every step of the way in gardening, I've learned something new. First, how to dehydrate, then how to can, and how to ferment, and just all the different ways, forms that you can use to put that food up for the winter. So today we're going to just do a little quick information on different ways. And because this is really my favorite time of year for gardening, it's the hardest time because if you've gardened through August and you've made it alive yourself and your plants are still alive, you've succeeded. And so now you start seeing all the rewards that you put into the ground. So harvest season, September and October are the busiest harvest seasons of the year. It's also the time that if you're going to do a fall garden, right now is when you plant it. And so I take one day like today is all about putting up food. Yesterday we planted about 60 Napa cabbages, and that will be partly for our fall garden and partly for our winter garden. And we make kimchi for our customers with that. So we do sell our product at the farmers market, and we have CSAs also. And then we're a teaching farm, so we teach people how to do everything that we make at market. So what we're going to start with first is talking about herbs. Herbs are something really easy to grow. If you've not started growing them, put some basil. It's kind of late for a lot of these, but think about next year. Basil or rosemary, thyme, fennel, all of those, and then start harvesting the mint. And so when you're harvesting your products, any products, you want to try to harvest in the morning. If you were able to water it the night before, it's great. So it really sucks up all of that good fluid that it needs, and then harvest in the morning before it gets too hot, which some days is really, really tough. Like last week or a couple days ago, we had still was 85 at nighttime. So to get out there and harvest before it got too hot, it was just plain hot. But you just get out as early as you can, and then you get everything into something cold or back into water as quick as you can. So what I tend to do for my stuff is, because I'm harvesting for market, I harvest about half of the stuff or a third, probably more like a third. Then I go up and I prepare it for market, getting it in to the containers or the plastic bags and get it in the refrigerator so it cools down as fast as I can. Then I go back out and harvest some more. So with that, I already have my herbs then after market, because part of what we teach is that after you go to market, if you guys are going that route, how do you go on and prepare then so you're not losing all that product you just spent 3 months growing? And so with putting them in bags has helped us a lot, because I can wait until Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday to go on and take care of the product, because the humidity in that bag has kept it so much better. So that's kind of how I do it, because Saturday after a market, I'm too exhausted to think about, let's get this food put up into something that we can eat for the next few months. So I want to talk a few things about storing your herbs, or drying, or making your herbs last for the whole season. So whether you harvest it for yourself or for market, you want to rinse your herbs off right before you're ready to use them. So if you're going to store them for a few days, wait to rinse them off. Then when you start, right before you start using them, go on and rinse them down, pat them dry, and let them just sit there until you're ready. So that way, if you're planning on storing them, they're going to go bad quicker. So that's one thing. When you are, say you just bring them in and you're going to just save them, you're not doing anything else with them, you want to go on and rinse them and then wrap them. This is one way to preserve it. Wrap it up with a string, just tie a string around it, then you can hang it and let it dry. Charles here is where we're at Silverheart Inn, has a real cute little drying rack. I can't really show it to you guys, but it works really well for it. So just do that, and they dry out beautifully. And then after they're totally dry, here's one that I wrapped up earlier, some basil. When they're totally dry, then you can go on and crush them or blend them and put them into your powder. So we do also a spice blend at our farm that we sell, and we do a lot of our herbs go into our spice blend. This one is flying fish, and it has parsley in it, and what else? Dill, marjoram. So we and it's got other stuff in it too, but we grow all those. So we dry them, and then we go on and put them into different spice blends. So this is the time of year to start harvesting them. And actually, you want to harvest them within about a month after you plant them. Just keep harvesting, but you want to do some heavy harvesting right now before it gets too cold, and get them stored up. Another way you can store your herbs is using a dehydrator. Instead, if you don't want to hang them around your kitchen, a dehydrator is wonderful. This one here is the round one. There's a lot of different types, but this is very easy to do. What I did is I got shisho in here, and shisho is a Japanese herb, and we make another spice blend with it. And I just took off the heavy stems and left the leaves and a few stems. And when this dries out, then I'll go on and blend that up, and I'll have that powder form to add to my spice blends. Another way that you can store your herbs is with making a pesto, and we're going to make a pesto in a few minutes. but I'm going to back up for just a minute because I'm going to show you first my very favorite way to put food up anymore. It is the easiest, and it is using the herbs and using whatever product that I have from the garden available. So right now, um, we have Gaguzza Italian zucchini, which I already cut it and peeled it, so I can't show you. I'm thinking about bringing the second one, but they are about 18 to 24 inches long. Great big, beautiful squash, and it has a very mild flavor to it. And so right now we've got an abundance. We actually harvested about 40 of them, which was 153 pounds of squash last week for market. We probably have that much for market this week. So I'm going to be putting lots of Gagutsa squash up into a ferment after market. So that's what we're doing today. And I took a bunch of our peppers that we had after market too, and I've already prepared them. I washed them, I cut them up into size, and we're going to go on and put it into our ferment bucket, and then we'll talk more about fermenting. This is the reason why I love ferments. It is very, very, it is very easy to do, um, and it just doesn't take long at all compared to canning. Okay, and fermenting is so good for your gut, and it's so good. If you like pickles, you'll love fermenting. So what I'm going to do first in here is I'm going to add some grape leaves. And grape leaves are wonderful. You can also use bay leaves. They have a chemical in them, and I believe it's called tannin. I'm trying to look that up today, but it helps keep your vegetables crisp, like a crisp pickle. The other thing, if you have grape leaves around, what makes this wonderful too is that you can use these grape leaves and do a dolmas, so a stuffed grape leaf, and so you've got an extra product in there you can use. So I'm just going to drop them in there. And I want plenty. I want to be able to use those for a meal. So I'm just going to take all this grape leaves and add it in there. And you're going to see how complicated this is fermenting. I'm going to throw in some fennel. Just a whole bunch. I already washed it. Just going to put it down there in the bottom. I've got some leek tops. The leek started flowering, and this is a wonderful thing to put some of that onion leek flavor in there. So I'm throwing it in there. I've got some tarragon, which is one of my favorite herbs. I'm going to throw that in there too. Take all of that tarragon there. And a little bit of Thai basil I'm going to throw in there. Well, that's plenty of seasoning right now. And then I'm throwing in some of the squash that I already cut up and some garlic and all these peppers. And some of the peppers I cut up if they were large, but the shishito pepper I'm leaving whole. This is one of my favorite peppers, and I'm excited to try them pickled. I've never had them pickled yet. So we will have them pickled in a couple of weeks now. So throw all that in there. See how easy this is to prepare this? And then I've got a little bit of this squash left, the Gaguzza. It's spelled Cuzza. And I'm going to go on because this is a little larger. I am taking out the seeds of it, which is really easy to take out. Just use a spoon and scrape it down. And then just chop it up to bite-sized pieces. So I can use any squash that I have. I can use carrots. If you're growing it, you can ferment it. Now, if you decide to ferment grapes, you know what you're going to get, right? Wine. So it's a little different on that. Um, but we've done cucumbers. We've done beets. Beets were really good fermented. All right. So there that is. Now the next step is I'm gonna go on and add this rest of this fennel. Might as well. Give it some really good flavor. Okay. So you're gonna use distilled water. This is really important. You do not want to tap water that has chlorine in it. Um, so to me, it's easier to just to buy some distilled water right now. And then you're going to add salt to it. The salt you cannot use is table salt. So you can use sea salt. Okay. You can use the Himalayan pink salt, which is actually my favorite salt to use. You can use canning salt. So any of those, but just not the iodine salt. So, and for a gallon, you would add anywhere from 8 to, let's see, 4 to 12 um, tablespoons. And I go with that little lower because I don't want stuff too salty. And so that's what I do. I put it in there early so it really evaporates. And you can still see a little bit. You guys probably can't, but there's a little bit of salt still there. And then I'm just going to pour this over my vegetable so it starts fermenting. So the salt's going to help do the ferment, um, keep it from going bad. And I want to make sure that I'm covering the vegetables. And this is probably a little bit more um, fluid than I need right now for what I've got in here, but I'm gonna be adding it all the way up to the top later. But yeah, so everything is totally covered and immersed. And then, so say I'm ready to go on and do this next step, what I would do is you need something to weight down your product. And so my favorite thing to weight down with is a plate. So I just put a plate in here. Oh, this won't fit. Let's find a smaller one that will fit. We'll use this one. Nope, that won't fit. Anyways, you guys get the idea. You take a plate and weight it down. You do not want it to be metal. Um, I guess you could use plastic, but the plastic is not going to be as heavy as a ceramic or glass plate. So I go on and weight it down. If you don't have something like that, you could actually use a Ziploc bag with the brine in it, and that will weight it down. Um, and I will go on and fill it up to almost to the first rim here, just a little bit lower than that. And that way, when it starts going through its bubbling stage, it's not going to totally bubble over. So what I do, there's several different ways you can do. Because I make it in large quantities, I put the lid on it, and I don't put it on really tight. It's on there, so it's secure. But that way, when the air pops up and it wants to let some air out, it will. Okay. You can buy little fermenting chimney type things and put on there. I have not needed them since we went to this. The other way that we ferment is using the jars, and most of the time I'll do it in a half gallon jar, and I do love doing it this way. Um, can't really. So when I get it all the way put up there, and I need to make sure that I'm making everything down below the brine. So I've got to have some type of weight there. You could use a little cup like this that holds it down, pushes on there. That would work to do it. You could do a Ziploc bag again with the brine in it, or you could take a cabbage leaf and push it down over the top of it and really push it down tight, and that will do it. And that cabbage leaf might look really gross, but that's what it's supposed to do. It's keeping everything else down there under the brine. Um, and then when I put my lid on, you don't put it on really tight. You got your flat. I did not bring a flat for this lid, but you just put it finger tight so it's wobbly, and that way when the air needs to come out, it's coming out. So that works really, really well. So that is actually my favorite way and the quickest way to get produce put up for the winter. And then you've got all these different ways that you can eat your ferments on rice, um, in noodles, straight in a, just a side dish for, or a full meal. And just lots and lots of good vitamins and minerals and good for your gut. So that is my favorite way. Next way we're going to talk about is putting the herbs up into um, a pesto. So we're going to make a pesto real fast. And we're going to make a Thai pesto today. And I love the blender for this. I don't have the time to do it all by hand. And so I have got some garlic here that I've already peeled and I'm going to put it in there. And we are going to use some pecans and some walnuts in this pesto. And I used to go, oh, I got to do this in a certain order. No, I don't anymore. I just know what I'm putting in, and the order does not matter. And I love this because you can make any flavor you want. Last week I made an Italian pesto, I did a Greek pesto, and a Thai pesto, and a dill pickle pesto. So this week I'm making a Thai pesto because I've got plenty of Thai here. Put in the Thai basil. And also one thing that I've done is, today I'm not doing this, but a lot of times I have taken if I've got a bunch of kale left over, or dock, or sorrel, or any of the greens left over, I will mix some greens in to my pesto to up the nutrition and you can't even taste those other greens, and it just works really, really nice. So this one I'm going to actually use lime juice. Pour a bunch of that in. And you notice I don't really measure. I am measuring, but I'm not being real picky about it, okay? And we are going to go on and blend this up some right now. See if I remember how to do this. Add some olive oil. Get some of that blended down. Leslie, does anybody have any questions yet while I'm doing this?
I don't see any yet, but if you do have any questions, just drop them in the chat. And just a time check, Chris, we're about halfway through, so it's almost
Okay.
12:30.
All right. So I don't know Charles's blender very well yet. So be patient with me as I'm doing this. So I'm just going to go on and push this down, mix it up a little bit.
We do have one question, Chris, which is, do you have to use fresh basil? Crystal dries all her herbs as she brings them inside.
You wouldn't have to, but it's not going to be the bright green that a pesto is. So doing it this way, it will remain bright green. Hopefully. We'll see what mine looks like. It's getting there. Mix it a little bit more here. So right now it's a light green, but as we get more, I'm going to put a little bit more Thai in here too. So I'm probably not going to finish this with you guys, but I've got to put Parmesan cheese in it. And you wouldn't have to do the Parmesan cheese, but it does make a really nice flavor. I'm going to add that. Blend it one more time, then we're going to talk about it. Okay, we're going to stop right there. I'll finish that up later. But you can see, I don't know, you guys might be able to see. Can you guys see how green it is starting to get?
Yes.
So
Yum.
if you were doing that with dried, it's going to be a little darker. But what is really great about doing the pesto is the lime juice or lemon juice, either one that you're using, is going to help keep that green